Let me ask you something. Right now, as you're watching this video, do you know where American troops are stationed in the Middle East? Do you know how many bases the United States military operates across that region? Do you know what happens to the tens of thousands of American men and women in uniform when the country they're stationed next to gets bombed by the United States itself and that country fires back? Because here's the thing, most Americans have absolutely no idea. They know there's something going on in the Middle East. They've seen the headlines. They've maybe caught a clip on their social media feed, but they don't know the full picture. And the full picture is terrifying. The full picture is that on February 28, 2026, Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, the IRGC, launched what they themselves described as the most devastating offensive operation in the history of the Islamic Republic of Iran. They targeted 27 American military bases and installations across the Middle East. 27. That's not a skirmish. That's not a warning shot. That is a declared, coordinated, multi-front military assault on United States military assets by a sovereign nation. And yet right now, there are millions of Americans who don't even realize we are effectively at war. Here is what happened, as fast and as clearly as I can give it to you. On February 28, 2026, the United States and Israel launched a massive joint operation called Operation Epic Fury, targeting military sites, nuclear facilities, missile infrastructure, and command centers deep inside Iran. This wasn't a precision strike on one facility. This was a sustained campaign hitting targets in at least 24 of Iran's 31 provinces. Israel deployed approximately 200 fighter jets in what officials described as the largest operational sortie in the history of the Israeli Air Force. American assets added devastating force to those strikes. Tehran got hit. IRGC bases got hit. The Ministry of Defense got hit. Iran's Atomic Energy Organization got hit. And then, in what may go down as one of the most consequential moments of the 21st century, Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei himself was killed. The man who had led the Islamic Republic for over 30 years, the man who commanded Iran's military, its nuclear program, its proxy forces across 6 countries, dead. And Iran, leaderless, grieving, and furious, responded the only way it knew how. It fired back, hard, at everyone it could reach, including, especially, us. Let's break down exactly what Iran hit, because this is the part that should be keeping Pentagon officials up at night, and honestly, should be keeping you up at night too. The IRGC didn't just lob a few missiles in Israel's general direction and call it done. They executed a coordinated multi-country assault specifically targeting the backbone of American military projection in the region. Let's go country by country, because every single one of these hits matters. First, Bahrain. This is the headquarters of the United States Navy's Fifth Fleet, one of the most strategically critical naval installations on the planet. The Fifth Fleet controls all U.S. naval operations across the Persian Gulf, the Red Sea, the Gulf of Oman, and parts of the Indian Ocean. It's the nerve center of American naval power in the region. Air raid sirens blared across the capital, Manama. Explosions were reported near the base. Smoke was visible rising from the direction of naval support activity Bahrain. The IRGC posted video of the strike. That base has hosted the U.S. Navy since 1948. It can accommodate the largest American vessels, including aircraft carriers. Iran just put missiles on it. Second, Qatar. Al Udeid Air Base, the largest American air base in the entire Middle East. This is where the United States Air Force Central Command is located. This base has hosted everything from B-52 bombers to F-35 stealth fighters. Thousands of American troops are stationed there. Qatar, a country that has walked a careful diplomatic tightrope between the United States and Iran, suddenly found Iranian missiles raining down on its territory. Explosions were reported. The Qatari government, understandably, is not happy. Third, the United Arab Emirates. Al Dhafra Air Base, another massive American installation, this one hosting U.S. Air Force assets, including surveillance aircraft and fighter jets. The UAE, which had normalized relations with Israel just a few years ago and positioned itself as a modern, stable, business-friendly Gulf state, also found itself in the crossfire. Local authorities confirmed that at least one civilian was killed by shrapnel from Iranian missiles targeting an American base. Think about that for a second. A civilian in the UAE, a country not even formally part of this conflict, is dead because of shrapnel from Iranian missiles targeting an American base. Fourth, Kuwait. Ali Al Salem Air Base took hits, a base that also hosted Italian soldiers, meaning a NATO allies' troops were directly in the line of fire when Iran unleashed its barrage. Explosions were reported at Kuwait International Airport. The Kuwaiti Foreign Ministry summoned Iran's ambassador and delivered a formal protest, which in diplomatic terms is about as furious as a small Gulf state can do when a much larger military power just bombed your territory. And fifth, Jordan. American assets there were also targeted, stretching the scope of Iran's retaliation across an enormous swath of the region. The IRGC statement made its intentions crystal clear. This operation will continue relentlessly until the enemy is decisively defeated. All U.S. assets throughout the region are considered legitimate targets. Read that again. All U.S. assets throughout the region, legitimate targets. That is a declaration of intent as explicit and as alarming as anything you will ever read in a military communique. Now, here's where I need you to really pay attention, because this is where the story goes from terrifying breaking news to this has consequences for every single American. There are approximately 40,000 U.S. troops stationed across the Middle East right now. 40,000 Americans, sons and daughters, husbands and wives, fathers and mothers, who woke up on February 28th in military installations across Bahrain, Qatar, the UAE, Kuwait, Jordan, Iraq, and elsewhere, and suddenly found themselves in the middle of a hot war between the United States and Iran. And here's what's deeply, deeply uncomfortable. Congress never authorized this. There was no declaration of war. There was no congressional vote approving military action against Iran. President Trump made the decision to participate in Operation Epic Fury, announced it via an 8-minute video posted to social media at 2:30 in the morning, and by the time most of America woke up and checked their phones, American troops were already in combat. Trump's statement was remarkable for how explicitly he framed the operation as a regime change effort. He told the Iranian people to seize the opportunity to take control of their government once the fighting was done. He urged IRGC members to lay down their weapons with a simple choice: complete immunity or certain death. He acknowledged directly, and this is a direct quote that you need to sit with, that lives of courageous American heroes may be lost and we may have casualties. That often happens in war. The President of the United States just told the American public on a social media video posted in the dead of night that American soldiers may die in a war he just started without congressional approval. And the question that should be on every American's lips right now, the question that Democratic and Republican lawmakers alike are scrambling to get on record about, is whether this is legal and whether the War Powers Resolution means anything anymore. But here's the strategic dimension that goes beyond the legal debate, and this one is genuinely chilling. Intelligence analysts at the Atlantic Council and other defense think tanks are now raising a concern that should give every military planner cold sweats. Iran may be deliberately holding some of its missile capacity in reserve. Think about what that means. The barrage we just saw, the strikes on 27 American bases across 5 countries, might not be Iran's best shot. It might be Iran's warning shot. It might be Iran deliberately showing restraint to preserve the credibility of a future larger escalation. Iran has spent billions developing ballistic missiles with ranges that can reach every American base in the region, cruise missiles with terrain-hugging flight profiles that challenge radar systems,
hypersonic missile programs, and a vast inventory of armed drones that have already been proven devastating in multiple conflict theaters. And beyond conventional weapons, there is the nuclear dimension, a dimension that the EU's own security analysts warned could trigger a dangerous nuclear proliferation cascade if the current conflict continues to escalate without a diplomatic off-ramp. The United States went into this conflict with the stated goal of eliminating Iran's nuclear program. Whether it achieved that goal and what Iran chooses to do next in the nuclear domain are questions whose answers could shape the security architecture of the entire planet. And then there's the economic dimension, which affects you directly whether you care about geopolitics or not. The Strait of Hormuz, the narrow waterway through which approximately 20% of the world's oil supply travels, runs right